Hi, good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started here. The mayor is running a little bit late. We would love to have him be our welcoming speaker, but for the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and get started, and he'll be here soon. So I wanted to say welcome to everyone. My name is Kat Blake, and I am the Policy and Program Manager at Next Century Cities. I've already been identified today as the woman who sends me a lot of emails, so you may know me as that as well. Hopefully they're all helpful. I wanted to thank you all for being here today in Pittsburgh and joining us for our regional summit, Making Connections. I think that the title, Making Connections, nicely sums up the work that we do at Next Century Cities. We are a nonprofit, nonpartisan membership organization of municipalities who are all working for fast, affordable, reliable broadband. We support our members by elevating community stories of success, advocating for local rights, and creating and sharing tools and resources. Membership is free, and there's more information in your folders, and you can learn more about joining on our website, nextcenturycities.org, or you can reach out to Deb or myself throughout the conference. Before I introduce our first speaker, I'd like to go over a few quick housekeeping details for the day. First and most importantly, coffee is available throughout the day in the back of the room and in the foyer. Second, you'll notice on your agenda that we have a series of exciting keynotes and panel presentations throughout the day. Keynotes and main stage panels will be held in this room, and then we'll split up for breakout sessions after lunch. Those breakout sessions will be held in salons 4 and 5, not marquee A and C as listed on the agenda, but we have two signs indicating each room just outside. Next, I wanted to remind everyone that tomorrow we'll be holding City Vendor Connect as day 2 of the summit. Vendors who signed up have received their schedules via email, and city schedules are available at the registration desk. If you have any questions about if you're signed up or if you need more information, just reach out to me, Deb, or Anna at registration. Next, the Wi-Fi network is listed at the bottom of your agenda. What's not there is the username, which is guest, and that is not case sensitive. So that's guest, non-case sensitive, and you should be good to go. And I'd like to encourage everyone to tweet throughout the day any updates or thoughts that you have with the hashtag NCC Summit. Finally, I'd just like to remind everyone that we will be holding a welcome reception tonight from 5:30 to 7 p.m. At Pittsburgh City Hall, which we're really excited about. There are walking directions from the hotel to the City Hall reception venue inside your packet. And if you have any questions about that, just let me know. And I'd also like to thank our reception sponsors, Foresight and Avada, for making that happen. We're really excited. So with that, I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Mark Smith is the Executive Director of Broadband Initiatives for the state of Pennsylvania, a position to which he was appointed by Governor Tom Wolf to develop and execute a statewide strategy for expanding broadband access throughout Pennsylvania. Welcome, Mark.
It's wonderful to be here on behalf of Governor Wolf this morning. And I guess I'm also standing in for the mayor, so this is double duty, I guess. Well, thank you for hosting this great event in Pittsburgh. On behalf of Governor Tom Wolf, I'd like to welcome Next Century Cities and all of you to the great city of Pittsburgh. Across Pennsylvania, it's estimated that there are over 800,000 people who do not have access to reliable high-speed internet. And those that live without this critical access are living at a disadvantage, unable to engage fully in the world around them. In today's world, a state, a city, a small town, rural Pennsylvania, our farmers cannot expect to remain competitive or be competitive or offer a high quality of life without reliable broadband access. This is a critical piece of infrastructure, and Pennsylvania is taking this issue very seriously. Governor Wolf believes that this access is essential in each of our daily lives, and Pennsylvania recently in March announced the Pennsylvania Office of Broadband Initiatives to carry forward the governor's goal of providing every Pennsylvanian with access to broadband by the end of 2022. The administration has taken aggressive steps forward to accomplish this goal. For instance, we recently invested $35 million to incentivize providers to bid in Pennsylvania in the FCC's CAF II auction. This program is not only meant to further investments in the state, but it also requires bidders to deliver service faster than the FCC timeline, and also only supports bidders who are offering a service of 100 megabits or more. Additionally, the state's engaged in a statewide county-by-county analysis to accurately assess the state of broadband access and the costs involved with the state opening up a larger scale program to serve residents. And we're also streamlining our processes to lease state assets and right-of-ways to ensure providers can have access to the menu of options that the state may have available to support them in providing greater access. The governor believes that delivering reliable high-speed internet access is essential to our growing economy, expanding our educational opportunities, increasing access to modern health care, and providing for safer communities. And therefore, he has taken this initiative to carry out his goal and his vision to ensure that we can provide those for every resident in Pennsylvania. So on behalf of Governor Wolf, thank you for coming. This is a state that is taking broadband seriously. We look forward to working with you and our local partners and our private providers to ensure that access to this critical broadband is available to every Pennsylvanian. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much, Mark. I'd now like to welcome Jordan Ball to the stage. Jordan is the Southwestern Pennsylvania Regional Representative for U.S. Senator Bob Casey. And Jordan has worked with the senator to bring attention to issues of broadband access throughout rural Pennsylvania. So welcome to Jordan.
Hey, good morning. My name is Jordan Ball. I'm here on behalf of our United States Senator Bob Casey. Really glad to be here this morning. I know Senator Casey wishes that he could be here, but he did want me to relay a couple words on his behalf. It's always intimidating to follow Mark Smith, who is a wickedly smart guy who has really been at the forefront of these issues. So we really do appreciate both Mark Smith and Governor Wolf's leadership on these issues. Now, I'll preface by citing a couple figures. One, between 650,000 to 800,000 Pennsylvanians lack access to broadband. 41 school districts in Pennsylvania do not meet the FCC's standard and goal for internet connectivity in the classroom, and 68% of school districts in Pennsylvania that do lack fiber and internet connectivity happen to be in small town and rural Pennsylvania. And so, while those numbers are arguably staggering and disheartening, what's really encouraging is seeing summits and conventions like these in which leaders, thought leaders, and folks from all walks of life, like all of you, are coming together from different sectors to put your thoughts together to potentially mitigate some of these issues. I'll tell you, Senator Casey's advocacy for broadband expansion is rooted in the fundamental belief that every child in every classroom and every business should have access to high-speed, high-quality Wi-Fi and internet access. He also believes it's a matter of equity and responsible economic development, and that this is important to both healthcare, education, students, teachers, you name it. This is really important, and the senator is always at the forefront of these issues. Back in February, he requested from President Trump and his administration a $40 billion allotment to expand infrastructure or broadband infrastructure throughout rural America. And he also supported the $600 million federal broadband loan and grant pilot program that was launched earlier this year. He also meets every day with farmers and educators and students and leaders, elected officials, stakeholders, you name it, who are all committed to setting aside political differences and coming together collectively to solve these issues. And so that's incredibly heartening. And when we talk about the importance of broadband to Pennsylvania businesses, we also need to do so in the context of the agriculture community, the largest industry in Pennsylvania. We know that farms and farmers are becoming more technologically advanced, especially with the development of precision tools and data analysis to make their farming methods more efficient. That's something that we also need to talk about. And finally, Senator Casey's advocacy is rooted in the fundamental belief that small town and rural Pennsylvania and rural America matters, and that this will fundamentally transform rural economies throughout our country. So, I know a lot of folks are understandably cynical about what's going on in government, but what I can truly say is that Senator Casey has been a tireless champion who is committed to really cutting through gridlock, staying above the fray, and working in a bipartisan manner to bring attention to these issues. Because after all, broadband is nonpartisan. It should not be partisan. It should not be controversial, and it's a game changer if we can all get out in front of it. So while I'm definitely not as smart as Mark Smith on these issues, I will say that we can definitely be a resource to you. I'm based right here in Pittsburgh. I represent the senator in Western Pennsylvania. If you ever find yourself in D.C. and or just need a contact in the senator's office, I'm more than happy to be that guy for you. So thank you for having me and letting me say a couple words.
Thank you, Jordan. I really appreciate your words. One of our principles at Next Century Cities is that broadband infrastructure and access is nonpartisan, and it certainly is nonpartisan at the local level. My name is Deb Socia. I'm the Executive Director for Next Century Cities. I'm so thrilled that the mayor is here to talk to us today. Since taking office in 2014, he's been leading the effort to make Pittsburgh a leading 21st century city. He's an innovator and a leader who champions the need to ensure inclusive growth and equity within the tech sector. Under Mayor Peduto's leadership, Pittsburgh has distinguished itself as an innovative, tech-savvy, energized place to live and work. And we are pleased that he has agreed to be here this morning to welcome us. So thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, my pleasure. I apologize, and I actually was looking forward to hearing about how the issue is partisan in some ways, and obviously we'll be following up with Brookings research to see how Pittsburgh can benefit. We have another conference in town as well with a committee out of Washington, D.C. that is engaged in reducing transportation energy by 50% by 2050, and we're trying to work on a bipartisan method in order to be able to do it, and pleased to host that committee here to the city. Look at Pittsburgh. How many people are here that are native Pittsburghers? Okay, and how many people are here who've never been to Pittsburgh? Never been to Pittsburgh. Wow, that's amazing. And you probably expected to find a city with rusted old steel mills falling into dirty rivers, right? Okay, you're lying, but yes, you did. But the fact is that the city has transformed. It didn't come easy. It didn't come overnight. I like to call it the 30-year overnight success story. It was founded by people who had an idea about what Pittsburgh could be and not necessarily what Pittsburgh had been. So 1979, Pirates win the World Series. Been a long time. Steelers win the 4th Super Bowl in 6 years, and the city of Pittsburgh dies. We die. Our economic heart's ripped out of us, and we go through a transition that was one of the greatest depressions in American history. Unemployment at 19%, and that's after people had already left, greater than during the Great Depression. We went through a transition where our own budget for the city of Pittsburgh had over 20% of the money going to just paying off debt because we didn't have a tax base, greater than when New York City went bankrupt. And we lost more people in the 1980s than New Orleans lost after Katrina, and they never came back. And at that same time, there were people who were thinking about this city in a different way. There were people at Carnegie Mellon University that created the first robotics program in the world. And they were able to bring people from around the world to Pittsburgh. By the 1980s, they had created the first PhD in robotics. And Pittsburgh now sees the benefit in artificial intelligence, in predictive analytics, in robotics, and as a world leader in all of those fields. It was down the street where one little hospital decided they could be able to get NIH grants in order to be able to do research. And that little hospital became UPMC, the largest employer in the state of Pennsylvania with 80,000 employees, greater than any of the steel giants during the heyday of steel. And Pittsburgh's economy changed around that. These institutions that were looked at as small nonprofits became not only the economic engine, but the rudder as well. And now Pittsburgh's at this place where technology and engineering, where science and healthcare are at the forefront of our region's economy. And we have to decide what we're going to do with that. We partner with places that are all around us because the economic growth that we're seeing, we want to see expanded all the way up to Erie, down to West Virginia, and around this entire region. We see the ability to be able to tap into NOAA down in Fairmont, West Virginia, and to use their computing centers together with our technology in order to build a corridor around Interstate 79 that will be a benefit to us. But we also are very, very cognizant that there is a true digital divide that exists. And that digital divide is not simply urban-rural, but within urban areas itself. Within certain parts of our city, kids don't have access to broadband. Families don't have a computer at their home. And there is a real digital divide that will be created that will create disparity, just like Pittsburgh in 1920, when those that worked in the mills and those that worked in the mines had very little compared to those that managed and owned them. And so we realized that history, so we created within our city an inclusive innovation plan. And our inclusive innovation plan is how does local government become proactive in order to be able to bridge that divide? How can we make sure that underserved communities are at the forefront of what we do when we start to offer new initiatives that are reliant upon the use of a computer to be able to do business? What are we doing to make sure that seniors that never had an opportunity to learn anything by a computer are given the opportunity to do so? One of the best experiences I had in this one topic in this plan that we have, which is, you can find it online, called Pittsburgh's Inclusive Innovation Plan, or Roadmap, was at a neighborhood called Greenfield. And Greenfield is a middle-class neighborhood. It is a neighborhood that is one of those neighborhoods that survived and did well through Pittsburgh's downturn because families decided they wanted to stay there. But there are a lot of seniors in Greenfield. And we had for the first time a program to teach them how to get online. And so it sold out. We had more seniors interested than there were computers available. And I asked one simple question. For how many people in this room is this the first time in your life that you've been online? And every person raised their hand. Imagine the world that they're being given. Imagine the difference between the last week of their life and the next week of their life. And then imagine the opportunities to do that with kids in different neighborhoods whose parents have never owned a computer, know how to use a computer, or even have access to a computer. That's our challenge. Our challenge is to make sure that we're able to bridge, in a city of 446 bridges, that divide between communities and individuals. It's also a challenge that as Pennsylvanians, and I know there's folks here from Ohio and elsewhere, that we have to realize the real difference between urban and rural. And we have to understand it in a way of how it is the same. It's the same. You know, one of my favorite skits that I like to make people watch is a skit from Saturday Night Live called Black Jeopardy. And if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to watch it and look up the Tom Hanks episode. And Tom Hanks is a MAGA-wearing, red hat guy who's playing on Black Jeopardy. And what it shows us is the commonality of the problems that we face. The differences are limited. The commonalities between parts of poverty are very real and very connected, whether you live in a city or you live in Fayette County. And the opportunities to bridge that are through education and opportunity. And what you're doing here today, and why I wanted to stop by, was to say thank you. Because if we are to work together as one, and I hope that we will as a country again, then it's going to be by realizing that those opportunities are very real and can make people's lives better. So that bridge is through broadband. That bridge is through education, and that bridge is through the opportunity for everyone to have equal access. And how we get there? Well, there's a lot of technology that can show us a lot of different paths. But the fact is that we have to work together, and together we have to make that investment. So thank you for choosing Pittsburgh to have this conference, and I look forward to working with you and making Pittsburgh an example of how we can do it on a local level. Thanks.